only have one slot and one amount of money. That is. So we bet on the we bet on the what are you busy with in your life? Guys, or Raoul?
Yeah,
what are you busy with in your life now?
Take it easy, guys.
Okay. As long as you're eating and drinking outside.
So ngizamile apply for native results I get on Friday. So I should be able to cover no large that's what it's up.
Yeah, let's hope so.
So far it's over at 60.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll we are one team with yes, the study each other. So at the end of the day, we had to say no what's bad.
Hello. Eh? Well, like the minutes ended long time ago.
20 minutes?
Yeah. But yeah? Okay, an extra 8 minutes. You can take an additional 8 minutes. It's okay. But Bafana is giving you an additional 8 minutes. Well, I'm the last session.
Angithi baba kuthi ukuthi nikeza amabhedi.
Mfethu ngikhathele yo. Bekafikile la uXesi. And awazi if uzobuya ne like manje.
We're starting about platforms. What's this? All right, so maybe you guys can. So let's have an intimate conversation. Actually, think of this because we are here. You guys can hear me. Thankfully, I was blessed with loudness. So I can shout. The mountains will hear me. So now I'm one of those people. I've been accused of being Swiss. Swiss. So the Swiss are the people from Switzerland. Do you know what's the reputation of the people from Switzerland? No, they are almost always there, not almost always there. Literally on time, every time. So that in my world is not African time. Whenever people talk to you about Africans, African media, so like I don't know. This is how we embarrass ourselves in the science around how we navigate time. It's documented. But I think in the modern world, it's all about contracts more than it's culture. Because culture you create, just like you get assimilated with culture, you also create. So me, I'm one of those people that like to create culture. So I don't like keeping people who are already here. So I think we should continue. And then those who can if they don't know job cool. So I'm gonna run this conversation mostly the relevant questions because I didn't prepare anything. I wanted to have a conversation. I could have 2 masters degrees, but it's probably not gonna happen. But maybe I'll give you slightly a little additional background, which then might help maybe even channel some of the questions you have, or maybe broaden them. So I've been working in the creative sector now between 5 years. And I'm a musician, mostly. But I always say you cannot just use your talent for just being on the stage. The stage is sleeping like everywhere when you know what your talent is. So poet, you can integrate to whatever it is. But what the world uses me for most of the time, as the creative is a management consultant, as well as leadership facilitator. Guru, now I can use the word because the name top 19 gurus and leadership in the world. Yes, Thank you. Is that helping? Okay, good. So I still don't need this. So I've been named the number 19 top coach. And I've had the pleasure of being and working with some of the most important people on earth. I've been lucky. I grew up watching this. From house, sitting on the table, my grandmother, raised by my grandmother, 15 of us. So every time I stand up and this is the reason why I'm saying this. The people that were like, oh no, most likely you grew up in privilege. Someone was in schools. No, me was born in Soweto. And then I stayed for an exam in one for a year or two. And while they were still trying to figure out what they need to do with me. And then eventually I went to Televisa. Studied with Televisa. I know that. Kai. And that's another empire. So Televisa has a lot of stars. People don't talk about how much, how many stars we have in the end of the that's discipline. That's the content. So that's my little background there. So I worked not in banking. I initiated cell-phone banking in this country in 1999 because that's what I was saying earlier. I don't know where it goes to. I make things happen. We get in trouble quite a lot because making things happen means sometimes you're going to start something that requires 200 people and only 20 people show up to get out of it. In fact, one of the biggest feedback someone gave me was, and you know, it's actually quite admirable. It's quite admirable, Dr. Mo, when you speak to him, when you go to any of his sessions, he acts, whether there's 2 people or there's 200 people, he acts the same. It's like the whole world is the same. So you guys are the whole world today. And actually here, we have that conversation. I think I mentioned, I've traveled to 12 countries. And so part of the conversation I can have is a global conversation. Because I find that many times, particularly as Africans, we continuously locate ourselves within our township, within our city, and then maybe if we are lucky within the country. And I need a lot of people who don't travel as much. You know, can I afford to travel? I said, your ability to travel is only limited by your ideas, wanting to travel. I was lucky, and so I said that I'm an African. How that came up, now I remember, because at that time I didn't know. And all of us have a purpose that's already planted. It's literally already, that's literally what I don't know. Discover that purpose, because then it becomes a non star. You're no longer limiting yourself to this is my talent or this is my job, which is actually one of the biggest problems. You're not born to do jobs, you're born to be. And in the way of being, this nonsense I'm doing here is it's not a job, it's just me manifesting purpose, spaces, time. So I remember 1987, grandmother at that time had a memory. So she was working for my Italian family something. So she was working there, and then every year, every half year, they get rid of the change semesters. Then they also kind of like get rid of clothes, all of those things. So she collect those and bring us and give her toys and stuff, things that we could actually take home. Inside the box that she bought 1 July was a map of Africa. And then in that map, it was like green, it was like very dark and green and like forest, right? And underneath that map, they had written something, the dark continent. I remember that feeling, that sinking feeling when it hit me. Like, it was like really annoyed. I still remember even today how annoyed I was just reading those words in that continent. What do they mean? What kind of nonsense is that? And it irritated me so much, but I put it aside because I was a child. I was still in primary school. But how that purpose started interesting continuously was, and as I was growing up, eventually, because I grew up in apartheid South Africa, yeah, so I know about that. So I grew up in apartheid South Africa. One of the things that was interesting about apartheid South Africa, growing up in Tembisa, first of all, was I didn't know white people because we didn't have white people. So the first time I actually saw white person was around 1988. My mother was like, oh, okay, they're working, and then she had asked us to come and help to collect some rosaries, which was a special moment because it's the end of the month. We're going to eat for a change. And most of the time, at the table or whatever it is that you never. So I never say to people, I grew up in our time. Just grew up in the streets. Money was not an issue. Living was an issue. What was focused? Very is everything is a purpose in this. So eventually, then, during these apartheid years, one of the things that was happening was the disruption of schooling, and as we were going, right? You know, and then as we do that, my grandmother was like, see, because I was a fluent path now, also, yeah, I do this, because more, that's physical. The one thing I want you to do more than anything else, I want you to do is probably the biggest gift. As today, when I show up in part, I don't show up only as black. I show up as a black person who knows shit. And as a result, I don't apologize for it. I don't feel I need to know myself. But at the same time, because it's built in, I also don't feel it. Right? If you feel at some point you need to be breaking about something, chances are maybe it's not in because if it's part of you, everybody is. And everybody will tell you about it. You don't have to tell people about it. So I'm sharing this because I'm not sharing this story. It's not time. I'm just me. So fast forward, I went to Mabubani, and now I'm telling you, Mabubani was falling in a different country or something. I don't know how much of this you know, but in Mabubani, it was now Tatswana. And Tatswana was a different state. According to the South African government, it was the will of the Botswana people, and we needed a passport to go there. So, how many of you have been to social media? Yeah. So, if you go to social media, just close to social media station, and as you get into social media, into the police station, the entrance of social media from the Pretoria city, from the Pretoria town. And as you go in, there's a split between social media and what is Mabubani. It's a bridge. On that bridge, that was between South Africa and Botswana. So in that, on that bridge, you actually had to stop and produce the Corona Muslim. which was a passport for the Botswana. And that was part of what was defining that transition. So all of a sudden, I'm no longer Motropo Central, I'm no longer South African. I'm a Botswana. By the way, all of this I is South African. So that was the best move, because with all of the settlement and the stability that was taking place in Botswana, it allowed me to focus on education and becoming more of who I can. I'm going to have a lot of the time to part of the story, because I want to get to the part of the story that says I ended up one of the shows. So Botswana had an advanced forecasting system even today. Botswana, the radio Botswana studios, Mabana studios, are still some of the best in the now rehabilitated. But they were, at least at that time, some of the best recording studios in the country at that time, and even in Africa. That's how much advanced our people were. So I just wanted you to get a sense of how advanced the culture was there compared to the dusty streets of Teresa and where I grew up. So again, it shifted my perspective around belonging, because all of a sudden I saw and aspired to something that was much bigger. Didn't see anything wrong. As soon as I got out to like, if I was in my plan, I was like, oh, it's a different world as well. And most of the people that live in my plan are black. And you will notice I use race also a lot. Because race, for me, is a strong consciousness that forms part of my identity. Master's study was really designated black or white, which today, as a leadership consultant, I also work with issues of diversity and belonging. Inclusion, belonging. So one of the things that was happening in representatives of the broadcasting was a TV show called on radio or on TV or TV, which was taking place every Wednesday at 3 p.m. So I would run from school, get into the bus to leave the school so that I can come and see and watch the show called Africans. It was hosted by the now deceased Professor Ali Amazo. I today count him as one of my mentors, even though I never met him. Because as I'm starting to grow up, I'm more aware of Africa. I realized that I was learning a lot from Professor Mazu about what Africa is. I've traveled the continent now, and I'm very passionate about this continent. And what can you do? But that's actually in 1987 when my grandmother died. Then, of course, Professor Ali Mazu gave that feeling. And then I was like, oh, I'm an African. So that's who I am. What does this mean around the work that I am? Because I don't talk, you don't hear me talking about my music. You don't hear me talk about any of the stuff of the creative stuff. It was because in my body, the focus was different. And you could be a dancer, but if you're going to be a dancer, you're going to really be a dancer. If you're going to be a musician, you're going to be a musician. If you're going to be a clerk, a scientist, you are going to be a scientist. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but one day, as we were doing the career guide, the career fair, there was a pamphlet that was coming from this, and it said MD, managing director. Okay. Here is a career economist. Up until then, I didn't know there was a job that people can actually do that actually makes you money. Immediately I saw MD, I said, this is what I want to do. I want to have money. I want to be rich, and I want to be a millionaire. So that became my job, and God with the idea of artistic music. By that time, I had already written a few songs, of which one was taken another time, and it showed up 4 albums later on the it's not butterfly. I remember, so it was it's a black album. So the song is a final track on that song, outside in. So you can check it out if you're interested. I had a soprano, so I was singing in the school choir when I was in tennis, and I stand there in the middle with the girls, while everybody was at the back. But I'm a guy, so I want to be there at the back. This doesn't mean because I didn't know this, but you don't belong there, you're going to make this best scene. I only realized when I was 28 that my soprano was better than Kathleen Becker. I don't know how many of you know who Kathleen Becker is. But Kathleen Becker is one of the top 5 sopranos in the world, at least at that time. So I don't know, I have a lot of that, but in that time, but that's my interest. But my interest now in music, my interest now in the arts is how do I help other creatives transition not just from being a musician, being a dancer, being on stage of whatever it is that I choose. I still sing, but I sing as a corporate, as an intervention into my corporate. I don't dance anymore. You can see this body. No. So what? I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. So I mentioned it, which kind of helps, right? And then we have one of them. He was shocked when he realized how much I actually know about dancing. You might know the whole history of that. Literally every single dance video inside as his word, his song, has passed through my hands. You name them, I mentor them. But part of me mentoring them was not to mentor them only as dancers, but was to mentor them as humans, and how to turn this instrument into mine. Because what is annoying, and I find that annoying and drives me, is that many creatives do not eat from their craft. Only because most of the time they miss certain basic fundamentals that come from the mind only of the melody. So I was appointed to the National Youth Orchestra at some point, but my way now was no longer to play music in the orchestra. It was essentially now to run a youth orchestra. So the National Youth Orchestra had been 20 years old, and it was being run from the bedroom somewhere or stay. Your vice president today, Deputy President Shadi, was at that time the Minister of Arts. I approached him and I said, hey, Mr. Shadi, I'm running the institution. So we can make it. National Orchestra is today a recognized national heritage institution. I'm not allowed. So that's my big background in terms of what I'm bringing into Kenya. So I'm not here to then say, you will do this and you will do it. I've given you a sense of the story. Hopefully the story, there's actually already some nuggets around how do you monetize your art. So I keep referring back to the elements of that story when I'm answering your question. So I'm ready to take your questions. Who goes first? Mine, how do we go for a relevant specific, especially if it's music and you don't have the money? And you advise okay, let's say I'm in a question of wanting to have a manager and not wanting to have it based on what I have. And at the same time, I don't want to open out certain districts that will make me number four, like legal reform, but I was focusing. But at the same time, I know that managers sometimes don't go through this year. I'm saying it because I have been message. So how like still allowing you to take, or how would you address our having? So again, you're starting in the middle, but let me pick it up, right? So having a manager is a consequence, right? It's a decision that is informed by purpose. What are you trying to do? What do you want? Because having a manager would lead you somewhere. Where is this somewhere? There you go. Okay, this somewhere is because of if you don't have anything. Yeah, but the way the system is structured, you says that. The way allows certain people. So far, where do you want to go? Where are you going? And then usually, let's say people, yes, and then the start of I do not know. Okay. And no one in terms of talking to me understand what I want. Yes. So when we move to talk, we end up saying that I don't know. And then I'll end up being, let's say you are the organizer also. She's my manager. And then she's proposing a specific thing, but it's not in line with what I think is my work. My work is based on that. You're complicated. Complicated. So I want you to hear that. It's complicated. First question, where are you going? You have the answer to where are you going and be very precise. Where are you going? You know where you're going. You know your purpose. Direction. Clear. You see it as a picture. Because once you are clear, everything, every choice you make should be informed by purpose, not by what you. Because we tend to hear a lot of stories about people who actually are on a different journey, who then have different painful experiences or great experiences. Fact of the matter is, only 5% of people in the world make it to the top, where they are now Grammy Award winning 25 times. There are very few Michael Jacksons. There are very few who's the hip hop Prince. Yeah, the Jay-Z's. There are very few Jay-Z's in the world, right? But you need to decide: do you want to be? Is that way? Yes, that's the idea of music. Managers can't understand what. Then you're blocking yourself because you've already started with the negative. The first thing you need to start with is then what do I need over there? What kind of person? What kind of people do I need to surround myself? So there's 4 questions, 4 answers you need to give. The first answer is what's my direction, what's my vision, where am I? Be very clear, be very sensitive, be very specific. Second, who is my audience? This is the conversation that only going to speak to people in your township who you already know because you already have them on the database. You don't need them. You can then have a conversation with them and create a network for them. But if you want to speak to the world and you want to reach audiences that you don't actually have right now, you probably need other people around you, whether you call them managers, analysts, it's not talk to the second resource. You need to answer the question now, what are the resources that I have behind me? So the resources in this instance, there are two types of resources. We're talking about human resources and resources. So let's talk about human resources for 2 seconds, because that's where your manager is. When we talk about human resources, we need to know we're talking 5 things. What skill does this person that I want to have around? What can they do compared to what I can do? Managers bring a certain skill that you might not have. What skill do you have? What skill do you have? Because once you're clear about that, it starts making it easy. You're not getting a manager, you're getting a skill. Does that make sense? Because I know this is while it's talking to you, it's talking to many of the other people who might say, for example, I want to have who have their names sitting on the database of agents because I'm an actor. So I want to have an agent. I have people that have agents who are not doing anything anyway. Not because the agents are bad people, but because the agent cannot really figure you out because the agent needs a product. Does that make sense? So, what skill do you want from this person? But what do they need to know that you don't? Because you don't want people that know the stuff you know. That's irrelevant, right? If you have two people in the same room who know exactly the same thing, one of them is expert. So surround yourself with people who know things you know. 3, and this is probably the most important because these two are actually just 17% of what you need. What attributes does this person have? Because that's where your client is. That's where the client and agents is. Because there's no match between attributes. What do I mean by attributes? Write this down. You want to make sure 4 things that any person you want to check. What are their values? So, what do they what do they care about? They care about. Right? 2, what are they passionate about? Now, in science, it's called as attitude, but I call it passion. What are they passionate about? What is this thing that they will just do? It's all they can. Right? 3, what are they motivated by? What's their motivation? So, about time, we surround ourselves with people that don't know what they want. And as a result, when they see you getting what you want, they now also want it. But a person who knows what they want, they know what they want from you. They tell you, well, now this is what I want. This is what you're bringing. This is the value you're bringing in my life. And then they will see your value. So an agent that already knows, let's say, for example, you being a multilingual artist, and they are passionate about bringing new artists in the world, they will work with you. They won't even need the storyline that you've already created about this manager stuff. Am I making sense? Right? And then lastly, what kind of personality do you expect? What do I mean by personality? How do they do things? Many of us have different personalities. There's like 70 people, there's like 72,000 personalities. So we talk about the learner, they won't act like it. They won't think like it. They want the same things. So be very clear that me, so for example, me, I'm an unstructured person and not very detail oriented. Those guys know that. Because the first thing I did was tell them, the reason I need you guys in my life is because I missed out on 1.5 million deal working back. Because I couldn't organize myself. I was looking everywhere. Like everything. Then I messed it up. So I said, that was work I needed to do, is to make sure I show up where I need to show up. I'm really bad at it. Can you hear? Can you hear the difference? You have to find people whether they have attributes that are going to help you in the direction. So to summarize, but if you don't know the direction you're going, any road will take you there. And a lot of the challenges that people have with their agents come from the fact that they are working with the wrong agents or the wrong managers. And sometimes you don't need a manager, right? But the problem is when you don't have a manager and you are in a space that actually requires you to be the manager, you can manage to get a manager. But let me add another piece. Having a manager, you need to pay them. So you better be asking the question, how are you going to make money with your life? Long answer, but I was trying to actually get to a lot of the work I do is not shortcut popcorn answers, because very few things that actually bother us have just a nice clean answer. Do you know that we're one of the there's 8 billion people. There's not a single person. And I can prove. You saw those 6 things I already mentioned: skill, knowledge, values, passion, motivation, personality. There's no one person on earth that has the same combination of 6 things. Yes. Ever. So the first thing around how to monetize your business is to know what those six things are for yourself. And then be able to do what Rehema was doing here on this day. She discovered it and then she started packaging. Because your art might not look like what someone else already has. So if you say, I do art, you well, cool. That's probably the lowest quality. What makes you special? Because I speak 7 languages, so what stops me from doing it? Now that I heard you talk, and I grow up better because I've also mastered the Arab. Does that make sense? Hey, I'm teaching. Next question.
On my side, it's as an athlete, I really, but I think for the graduation, I try the ways of the agents trying to put myself out there. It's theater, and but for me, I think it's a process of I know where I want to go. I know the goals. I don't know when.
That's not up to you.
It's not up to me.
It's never up to you.
But the thing is, how do I keep up now with the passion, the love I have for the arts?
Yeah.
And also facing reality, because there is reality to say, okay, we need to figure this out. And you might find that a month or 2 months,
Yeah.
and the people that come and approach you, they say, look, Nonsa, we have one, two, this the ordinary working with t-shirts, food.
Yeah.
So the process for me is very difficult to when I'm like, is it really worth it? But I am this month too. I know where I want to be. And I know if I go through this process, the achievement that I'm going to get is yeah, so just balancing what you do with that space.
Where are you going?
In terms of my work,
Yeah. When you say process, process to yeah.
That's a very, what I want.
It's not a bad idea.
I want a well-known actress that's supposed
So well known is problematic.
in sense of program, not as
Okay. Yeah. Well known is problematic because you have no control over it. So what is this thing that you are dying you are dying to do, whether you get paid? Because I'm you.
tell
When did you tell enough of your story last?
on the 20th.
Okay. So that's how many days since today? Man, almost 2 months. And then what have you been doing in between? Yeah. This is my answer. Because I can tell you very, very clearly, I say that you have people come to you and say, oh no, I'm a dancer, you know, like I'm a dancer, I have opportunities to dance. Oh no, I'm a writer, I have opportunities. But what do you believe in opportunities? I just have practice. That's us. That's musicians sing. I may not have an album, you guys, but people who live with me in my house know. I sing a rap of Chappies. Oh, this Chappies, it looks so nice. So, and this sounds like a flippant answer, anyways, but that's where it starts. Be the thing you want to be all the way, because it was there in 1987. Right? Be that thing now. Because opportunity over luck is opportunity needs preparation. What is preparation? Preparation is 10,000 hours of deliberate practice of doing this thing that you do that you have. If you're going to be telling African stories and you haven't the space of time and on, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Because in that space between now and then, someone would have seen you somewhere telling you story. And this is how then you determine whether you're being used or you're using other people. Because I know in the sector there's this whole conversation. Hey, now, what about the for exposure? I think people have misunderstood the concept of exposure and they misunderstand it because people like I've just been asked now, he confirmed with me this ministry. He says to me, you know, like I have executives at ESCOM who like want to come and you tell a story. Like, yeah, but I don't do it for free. You know how much I charge. And but I know him. So, no man, I don't want to charge. Like this is not an ESCOM thing. This is like just as us as guys, we get the golf thing, and I want you to kind of like inspire them, like you do such. Okay, I do it. I work for money. Because I'm in the space where I work for money, I get paid. And then he said something very important which goes to my message. He says, no, you know, what this is going to do is actually expose you to all the senior executives of ESCOM. Because soon we're going to be having coaching. And guess whose name they're going to be about this? And they're thinking about choosing a conference. ESCOM opens the money. It's not like I need it. I charge $500 an hour. So me sitting here costs me money. But I'm not counting this money because this is the money I'm using to do what? To live my purpose, which is put Africa in the center. So can you hear that today I made a deliberate decision to show up where I show up, where the people pay me money, because I know what it's doing for me here. It's not what that guy is telling me. So me then deciding to go and speak to these ESCOM guys, it's not because he says to me I'm going to get exposure. I'm the number 20 best coach in the world. I don't need more exposure. But you know what I'm reading is saying, I want you to make me look good. I want my people to know that I know people. I got cool friends, yeah. So I'm gonna do that for a friend. I'm not doing it for ESCOM. In fact, ESCOM is already signing ESCOM through another company. I wanted to tell you that. But as I was listening, that's the next thing. Listening to what people are saying to you when they're asking you, and then being able to know what they want. But first, go and see how am I going to use them? It might not be mine. And then at this point, can I introduce a different concept? It's not different, but additional concept, a concept of value. How much you worth, how much you set aside, and how much experience is worth. Because if you start calculating everything in value as opposed to cash, you will actually realize how much value you are generating or accumulating on your CV. And be deliberate. Make sure in the month you have done all stories. They're on the plan. Find spaces where you're going to tell them where somebody is going to see you. Tell your stories. Which means you're going to be deliberate to say, who are the people that are going to be there? They have money. And when they're excited about me, will they call and pay me 3 times more than it costs me to stand on that stage and do it? So use your gift as a marketing tool, especially if at the beginning you're still not at the framework, but refuse to be used only. Use this. But you cannot use other people if you don't know what you want. Get into transactions with what you want. I keep using Rihanna as an example because she's all of us here now. She's probably the second longest experience person. And I think the message she just brought there in that conversation was there were spaces where I would show up in corporate as a young black woman, and lots of things happened in corporate. Part of it to stand. I know I've gone through a lot of stuff as a young black man in corporate. But one thing that I was never unsure was where I was going. It makes you bekezele kancane, bekezele kayi-2, then bekezele kayi-3. But because you have a plan, you bekezela 3 times and then you say number 4. Am I making sense? Yeah. So it's hard and in the industry, and it's harder if you don't know yourself, because then you get trusted artists. That's the way. Then refuse to not show up and cause this. Create value. The value you create is your 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours is how long it takes to actually become an expert in your field. One day, who I have to tell you this. So I had this young guy, musician, who told me the story. He was a friend to, I don't know if you Chaka. Right? So he was a friend to Yvonne Chaka's son. He wanted to break into it. You know, and it's hard to break into this. So he would hang out on everybody. So one day, Yvonne's son was invited. Yvonne and the family were invited to somewhere in Kumavik. And he went with Subi. So he's been practicing, he's been doing exactly what. And then he arrived at this event. The musician that they were hoping to perform, I'm not sure. It happens. It happens, you know this. No, you guys don't even know. Because we always ready, whatever it is. So, Yvonne's son went to his mom and said, you know, let's have a chance. Maybe he can do a captain razor while they are waiting for whoever the main artist is. The story ends with this book. Because he showed up. He performed. I won't mention his name. Preparation. Practice. You should take those moments as practice. After 10,000 hours, you can tell people, guys, pay my dues. You either pay me or get out of my way. I have 5 other people that are waiting for me to negotiate. Is this useful? And I give wrong answers, but again, I say my answers are essence. I'm going to give motivational questions. It's hard.
Okay, I think this is something a question that I think all of us are interested in. As we work with most creatives, I'm sure you're going to be successful. We also work with people with talent, but they end the time. So with the creative development, what would you say that you can tell us in a form of dance, you know, to say, because you see this one, maybe this one, because what I've realized is that the most talented people create. So that's my one to say, like, why you see, wow, oh, wow, whatever you perform, wow, but then still doesn't, you know, you don't have money, you get kids, so what are the things that we can do about so that we?
I won't give you a long list. Maybe the rest will come. Right? One, talent does not work. Talent is useless. So it goes back to your 10,000 hours. Work the time you use. Don't just always say, oh, well, I'm talented. So many people who have talent, they get into the space that says, I'm talented. They don't listen to it. And they become arrogant. It blocks on your, it blocks on your life. So talent doesn't work. Humility that it takes for you to do the work when you know your talent. Does that make sense? So many people who don't make it are mostly thinking people should see them as their talent. So people will only see you when you show up when you're there. 2, don't take yourself so seriously. Show up in spaces where fun is also there. Like, hey, be cool. Don't. We have too many don'ts. I don't this, I don't that, I don't. Yeah, have your values, so I don't let your values kind of like drive your boundaries. But so 82% of the people by the don't share your values. Right? So actually, just be, if you're now in your 18%, how a lot of people with your same values, your probably will be as easier to lose them. Hang on, chill, be a human being. when you're a human being and not motivated, people connect with you as a person because people actually give opportunities to people they like. I say this also, and we think it's Vuka. I was also hearing when you come with a gift when you have a meeting in the West now, part of the mind. But where we come from, people don't know. You show respect to people. So how do you show respect? You show respect by actually just letting people be themselves in their own ways and stop making people uncomfortable. That's how it's going to work. So if you just you know who I am. People we know an artist doesn't need to teach. So people would like to work with people they like. People like to give opportunities to people they like. Make friends. Don't make friends with everybody. So don't leave here saying I said make. But decide what your values are. Decide who's your tribe. Go and hang with the leaders. Your tribe. Stay gets what's called stay. Does that make sense? 3. Learn. Learn new things. Upgrade yourself. Find different ways of doing your thing. So if you're a musician, music is not only made on stage. Music is not just made on the scene. You can actually do music as a corporate performer. You can do conference music. So conference music, I integrate music into my conferences, such that some of the activities are musical activities. Right? So you can think about what are the creative ways in which I can actually use my gift in a way that can showcase it to more people. But then keep up to date with what's happening with the business. Many people buy a school, and then after they finish and they have their qualifications, they're now toting the path for them. Keep learning. Why we're looking at it. Please don't forget your 10,000 hours. Find opportunities to do this week everywhere where you can. Be strategic. Who's gonna see you? Does that make sense? And then I'm getting one last one. Know your worth. What do I mean? I'm not meaning be like I am the best, but know that you're the best. And what? Now when they say top 20 global codes, it's not even a question. Right? I don't need people to tell me I knew that already. But I won't go around, of course, going like I'm the shit. But I know. Which means you then will know when the value that people are offering is lower than what. Does that make sense? And did you hear I didn't say price? I said value. Because there are some places you don't want to show up as a big star. And maybe you're not a pig. But if you like pop meat, it's good to have other things. It's wrong. That makes sense. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I want to give you things with the truth, things you didn't ask. So if you're taking notes, you have to take this down here. I'm gonna leave it with you. Give that. We have to close. Write the number 2. Write the letter P. Write the number 100. Got it? So in front of you, you should have 2P100. 2P100. Is that what you have? That's the formula of our number. after you've made money, how many times? What does it stand for? 2P means 2 P's. P1 and P2. Yeah. So you need to answer 2 questions. So the 2 P's. The first P, what pain does your art show? What pain does it show? There's nothing wrong with making art for art's sake. That's still a thing. But when you do that, you're choosing, I'm not commercial, just doing it for. It's fantastic. But if you want to get paid, you need to answer the question: what pain does your art solve for you? That's the second question. Who has this pain? Where are they? Do you know them? So if you're a dancer, what are you doing it for? What do people get from the dancing? And please, saying they get healing, it's not going to be useful. Be very specific about what kind of healing, what happens after you've danced. What feedback have people given you about your dance? Or what is the effect of your dance? What is this methodology doing if there's a method or an approach? If you're doing music, what does this music? This goes back to where I said the read gold style, right? When you find out. Your techniques may be natural, but they inform by something. If they're informed by something, you're able to then talk about what led to the creation. Many people are like, oh, the history of art is so useful. Actually, the history of art kind of gets you to understand why art cannot evolve and why people consume. Does that make sense? We're living in an era now where government no longer funds arts. It's actually shifting more and more. We're going to get to a space where and corporate sponsors. Why? Because it used to be what art was, it was entertainment. What art was social cohesion, right? But it's moving. So people can find other ways of social cohesion. And you guys know about Netflix now, we binge by ourselves. Right? People no longer watch television together as families. So if you're going to create an art, are you going to create an art that brings people together as families? Maybe, right? If you do, you're now going to answer that second P. Who are these people? Who are these families? Don't just say families. Social media, Langa, language, Tanzania. Where are they? Do research. These are the people that I have found that they enjoy this. They may not have enjoyed yours, okay? But this goes back to the 10,000 hours. Go and dance for them and see. That's your research. Do they enjoy this thing? If they do, take their numbers, take their names. That leads you to now the 100. The letter 100 is, do you know 100 of these people? Can you name them? Do you have a number? Do you have a contact detail for these people? We have to advertise. We have networks of communities of people that we invite them. So everybody who was here is our community. Karabo is a member of the board, for example, but I didn't get UJ because of that. I got UJ because I went to Karabo. Karabo came to me when we had to do this. Said, hello, listen, you know, we have like 1 month, 1 year, one weekend of jazz. And you're doing the jazz things. So maybe we should collaborate. I didn't have to convince UJ. Because they had already decided in 2019. All I had to do was take it up. So I just didn't have an opportunity to check it out. Doesn't have that much this week. Am I making sense? So I'm just trying to give you the in your list, who is on your list of 100? If you have a database and you don't have 100 names of these people, you're in trouble. And I'll take your hand. There was a show, it's still on television, so if you see it, watch it, called Naked News, that was a part. It's 3 seasons, so I'm not sure what season this is when I talk about this. I was speaking to Sue, Steve Sue, the one with the songs. Do you know what I'm talking about? No? Yes. You do. So he makes some nice fancy songs. And so I said to Sue, because he was struggling to distribute the songs. I said, Sue, who are the 100 people that you know that love these songs? Because whenever you're talking to me, you want to market like we'd say they don't have hundreds, thousands. I mean, to actually put an advert on television, 1.2 million just to have a weekend. Right? Can't afford it. But then that's actually did that. Don't go there. Go to your list. Make a list. Sit with patient, make it happy. Talk to them. Then show up to them. Say, hey, you know, don't say, guys, it's support day. You're not begging, right? You have a thing that actually heals. Say, guys, can I qualify for you or 10 of you? I want to do a performance and I want to see what impact is giving feedback. Half of those people were, oh my God, this is fantastic. Can we hook you up? They hook you up, they get into the list. Increase your list. If your list hasn't got into 100, don't start charging. Until you have at least 100, don't charge. Use the free time to increase to 100. And this is the 100 that also you're going to pick up the phone. Advance, you have to have. And they will. Literally, all our work for the last 2 years, it's our people who then tell other people. I hope you do for them. I do.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
You said something about having the hand.
Yeah.
Maybe the initial pushing of water. Just invite people, but how do you get 100 people? I think, and you said something about just inviting 100 people and you said the social things are not.
So you have to answer the first 2 questions first before you talk about before you go to 100. You don't invite 100. You ask yourself a question. What pain does my heart show? You hear that piece? What pain is my storytelling solving? Second question. Who does it solve? Some people might not like your story, but there will be others that maybe give that also. Who are those people? Write that down. Those are the people that are now working to connect 100 and find out where they are. And how do you find out where they are? You show up in places, you listen until you build up a list, which goes back to the question that I was asking earlier about working and how do I get to this when I work so hard? Sometimes you get to work for free, but now the working for free is deliberate, so you know what paying you. Remember, that's the question I asked. What do you want? Because if I can't answer what you want, it's a problem. Right? So you could say, I want to solve this problem. I want to tell many stories. Why? There's hundreds of thousands of people maybe telling stories. What makes yours special? Once you answer that, just pin about where are the people that are interested in this to those things. Do research. And then don't just think, oh, they are in Ghana. Ghana has 65 people. Who? That's what I was going to have. You want to go and get 100 people in Ghana that like your story. That's the deal. When it takes you 5 years or it takes you 5 weeks, it's now your life. Is this useful? So I'm going to wrap up. Simple. Did you manage to get the?
No.
No.
Quit.
Okay.
What we can do is we can scan. Anybody wants to scan can scan.
Okay. So you notice that the answers I'm giving you are not nice, clean, beautiful answers. This dude attended my high impact leadership program 10 years ago. 10 years, 9 years ago, 8 years ago. It's not a time, it's a long time. 5 years ago. What did you learn?
I think who's going to they pay you assign spot. I mean, the government assign spot. You have to get. I think it was
so we run a high impact financial capability program. It is a program because it actually first module forces you to face yourself. You ask questions like I've just asked you to go where you go, right? Because the longer it passes, the more it's so we ask that question, and then we get you to connect that's module 1. Once you can connect itself, we take it to module 2. Module 2 is all right. So how do you manage now your art practice? Who are the people around you? Who are your stakeholders? Who are your clients? Who are your staff? Because yes, you can have staff. They may not be people you hire. Can I teach you all of those things and how to organize yourself? And then module 3 is then around creating strategies. But in between, we already give you practice activities that can get you. So, for example, the people storytellers program, they have a talent at the end of October to make 500. We didn't do that when you guys started, right? Because you guys understand. But we then wanted to get you guys to now go and do 146, 150, but you have to practice. Because there's no need Vuka is sitting on teaching you how to carry a story. But if you're interested in a lot more answers about how to monetize your business, you want to be a part of the high impact financial company. Then if you go, I think there must be a website. Yeah, so you can go to that website, just click on it, I think you find something. Or otherwise, check this there. There's a QR code. Just scan the QR code that you into your phone. You don't have to apply now, but you know that it exists. You can never do this without it. Many people think you can do it by yourself. Nobody can. It's others like this. Yes, it's a program. Yes, through the channel. Yeah. And it's long, it's like 12 months. It's a certified program. Yes, so I'm not lying, yeah? So I don't know what's happened. Thank you guys. Good luck on your journey. And it's hard, it's so hard. And if you have questions and you want to ask, follow us and just ask questions. Because I'll give you very long answers. Good luck in the purchase term tonight, and then I will see you guys on Friday. We have Eleanor performing.
Yeah, sure.
We
Please
have,
make sure you come.
yes, we have Tabara performing. We have Africa, we have Batona dance. Thank you for being here. Lovely to meet you. Is that I was wondering what. Yeah, you let us. When was I so excited? Okay. When I'll tell you. When? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. We'll talk. Yeah. Sure. Hey, ubusama choro.